Hello? Oh, hey, Dwight. Yeah, no, I'm just about to start my vlog. My vlog? No, with a V. A V. Vlog. Vlog. Hello, strangers and friends. Today we're going to talk about Jeremiah. No, not the bullfrog, the prophet. But I bet if he had the choice, he'd rather be a bullfrog than a prophet, because as prophets often do, he was chosen by God to tell his countrymen things that they did not want to hear. Namely, how much they sucked. Which is kind of an understatement when you consider that Jeremiah's countrymen were sacrificing babies to little golden statues. Of course, as a result of their said suckiness, God was going to rain down on them a holy terror of Babylonians. Angry Babylonians with spears and shields and fire. They were going to rout their cities, destroy their temple, and pretty much carry off the best and brightest into exile. There would also be famine. So this lovely message was the message that God told Jeremiah to tell his people over and over and over and over again. As you might imagine, this didn't make him very popular at parties. But that's okay, because God had already told him, listen, I don't want you going to parties. I don't want you going to weddings. I don't want you going to restaurants or places of merriment. Pretty much any place where people are having a good time, I don't want you to go for the rest of your life. Sounds like a blast. It's really not that hard to understand why Jeremiah was known as the weeping prophet. Of course, all of this talk of destruction really didn't sit well with Jeremiah either. Case in point, one of his discussions with God. Why did I ever come out of the womb to see trouble and sorrow and to end my days in shame? It's actually important to note that Jeremiah became so well known for his lamenting and listing of woes that the French actually coined a word after him. Jeramad. Can you imagine embodying a characteristic so well that your name became synonymous with that characteristic? You are being so Susan right now. I got Theodored bad. Anyway, so God was like, it's going to get worse, Jeremiah. And it did get worse. He was flogged, he was put under house arrest, he was thrown in jail, he was thrown into a deep, muddy well and left to starve. As you can imagine, Jeremiah's response to all of these things was what you might expect from a normal person. Why is my pain unending, and my wound grievous and incurable? Will you be like a deceptive brook, like a spring that fails? One thing I take away from Jeremiah in this story, the one thing that strikes me the most, was his commitment to the story behind the story. My friend and fellow field scholar Makoto Fujimura calls it the stage behind the stage, the reality behind the reality, that this was part of God's plan. Jeremiah knew the story behind the story. He had to work really hard at it sometimes, and yes, he spent many a night Jeremading, but he trusted the words God spoke. For I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future. Whether he was doubting or angry or beat up or running for his life or starving at the bottom of a well or being led away with the rest of God's people to an exile he would never return from. This story behind the story is built on faithfulness and sacrificial love. Psst, and that right there, what Jeremiah is doing, who Jeremiah is being, what's actually happening, is not only a revelation of our need and longing for a triune God, it's a reflection of Jesus. I'm giving you over to them. Put your hope in me, and there will be life. This is what Jeremiah reminds us to do, because if we're really paying attention, this is not our home. And how does God tell us to live this out? In the same way he told Jeremiah. Also, seek the peace and prosperity of the city to which I have carried you into exile. Pray to the Lord for it, because if it prospers, you too will prosper. So go. Seek the peace and prosperity of your captors. Seek the peace and prosperity of your friends and family, of the work of your hands, of the passions of your heart and mind. Go.